This is Mark Bell from supertraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. We got a question from Edwin Vera, and he wants to know my opinion of deloading. Do you deload in the conjugate method? How do you deload? And how do you know if it's time to deload? Well, you guys know my opinion on overtraining. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I think that there's only undertrained and underdeveloped and underprepared for the things that you're about to do. Well, with deloading, I feel similar. I don't think there should ever really be a planned deload. How do you know it's time to deload? You don't really. It's in the workout itself. If you're following the West Side Barbell Method, the conjugate system, and you're utilizing DE, Dynamic Effort Day, it's already predetermined. You're doing 3-week waves. Week 1 is 50. Week 2 is 55%. Week 3 is 60%. And so week number 4 is going to be the start of week number 1, where you go back down 10%, and that is your deload. There are going to be times in training where you feel beat up. There are going to be times where you're tired, you're exhausted, you didn't sleep, and this happened and that happened, and the dog ate your training belt. You know, there's going to be all these kind of things that happen to you, but you got to continue to plow through. A lot of this is up here. A lot of this is up here. You know, somebody will say, oh, you know, I'm having trouble with this or that, and I'm like thinking to myself in my head, I don't say this because I don't want to be too much of a dick all the time, but it's what I'm thinking in my head. Someone's like, man, I think I have weak rhomboids because, you know, I can't do this or that. And I'm thinking, rhomboids? What the fuck is a rhomboid? That sounds like the most ridiculous thing in the world. What I'm thinking to myself in my head is I'm thinking, this motherfucker's weak right here. That's where he's weak. He's not weak in his arms or in his tricep or in his rhomboids or wherever the fuck those things are. He's weak in his head. He's weak between the ears. You need to have a lot of strength between the ears if you're going to be good at this sport. If you want to be a power lifter, you are going to have to make yourself a tough son of a bitch. This sport is hard, and that's why some of the greatest power lifters are a little bit crazy, is because it is a tough sport and it will take its toll on you, and you can't allow it to happen. You got to force all that shit away. You got to constantly fight against yourself. You got to constantly fight self-doubt all the time, and you have to have a lot of self-discipline to be good at this sport. The sport's not hard if you're working hard and if you're consistent, but it's hard to work hard all the time. It's hard to be consistent sometimes when shit starts to get to be hard, or what if you get injured? You know, I see a lot of turnover in this sport too. So back to deloading. How do you know when it's time to deload? You don't have to know when it's time. It's automatically pre-programmed in the workouts. If you read my article, it's on bodybuilding.com, called Underloading. Underloading helps solve a lot of these issues as well. Underloading is a way to still go full bore, go full force, and still kind of back off in a way. Because in that method, you are basically deloading in a way, because you're doing exercises that will not allow you to lift heavy because they're so damn hard. For an example of that would be a bench press with a close grip and a pause for a triple. Obviously, you're going to use a lot less weight than you did for your single with regular grip the week before. Another example of that in a deadlift would be a deficit conventional pull for a set of 3 when your strength is sumo. Again, you're going to be using a lot less weight. If you're a geared lifter, take your gear off and go raw. Obviously, your lift's going to be a lot less. So that'd be another way to underload or deload, perhaps. But the underloading method is a great one because you're choosing exercises that are so difficult they will not allow you to use a lot of weight. Now, you do need to be a little bit careful and a little bit cautious with that. You don't want to pick exercises that are too ridiculous and that are too hard, because that'll probably mean that they're also too dangerous. But that's my thoughts on deloading, and that is it from supertraining.tv.